AMC's hit series, The Walking Dead, has finally concluded after 11 seasons on the air. However, the franchise will continue to live on in the form of numerous spin-off series, the first of which is titled Dead City, which will follow the unlikely duo of Maggie and Negan on their journey to New York City. But although fans are looking forward to it, there are still some growing concerns. Here's everything we know so far. Starting off with back in business. There have been quite a lot of unanswered questions about the spin-off series, with one of the major being why Maggie would want to travel with Negan in the first place. Surely the man who smashed her husband's skull in with a baseball bat would be the last person she wants to spend quality time with, right? And why are they even going to New York, especially since the place is probably swarming with hordes of walkers? Looks like only time will tell. Plus, if what Morgan said about Negan regressing back into his bad habits in the upcoming series is anything to go by, we'll most likely be seeing some tension between the two battle-hardened survivors. Although Maggie ultimately allowed both Negan and his pregnant wife, Annie, to stay in their community in the main show's series finale, she still finds it hard to be in his presence, despite going against all of her instincts and allowing someone like Negan into the sanctuary. On the other hand, what is Maggie's biggest weakness, and how would that be exploited? Over the course of the series, Maggie has been through some of the worst things imaginable, losing her husband Glenn, raising her son by herself, and even leading her community and going to war. While she may be as tough a survivor as they come, according to Cohan herself, she'll have her greatest weakness taken advantage of in Dead City. So what exactly could this weakness be? Well, there's one obvious choice: her son, Herschel Jr. Everything that she does revolves around her wish to give Herschel a better chance at life. After all, the quickest way to get on Maggie's bad side is by messing with the kid. So could it be possible that her journey is motivated by someone kidnapping Herschel and taking him to New York? At this point in time, we can only guess. Putting mysterious weaknesses aside, the unfamiliar landscape of NYC will also be taking even a badass like Maggie by surprise. We already know the dangers of large cities. Just take a look at Rick's time in Atlanta during The Walking Dead's premiere season. Plus, considering just how massive the population density of Manhattan is, things could easily get very ugly. It seems that the only way you can get your questions answered is by waiting for the premiere in April of the new year. Mark your calendars. It's going to be quite the show. Meanwhile, Maggie has also been shaped up to be quite the villain many times. Although The Walking Dead ended in November, fans won't have to be separated from their favorite characters for too long, considering the numerous spin-offs that are in the works. With two other series focusing on Daryl Dixon and the reunion between Rick Grimes and Michonne on the way, fans have a lot to look forward to. However, the Maggie that's going to be featured in the upcoming spin-off seems to be far different from the original character, as her character has gone through many changes throughout her story. Although she learned how to be a strong leader, she has also made quite a lot of questionable decisions that made her appear cruel and vengeful, often making her look more like a villain than a hero. So let's take a look at a few examples of that, shall we? First up, there's the time she defended Herschel's barn walkers. Maggie's personality changed dramatically after Rick's group was introduced to the Green Farm. However, her family wasn't always the most reliable of allies at the beginning of the second season. Earlier that season, Maggie kept the fact that Herschel was hiding walkers in his barn a secret from the rest of the survivors. Even though she knew that this was a dangerous decision, she refused to go against her father's wishes and defended his choice to keep the pack of undead so close to home, choosing to keep the existence of those walkers from the group and even asking Glenn to keep the secret once he found out, put the others in serious danger. Up next is the time she wrongfully blamed Lori after being reckless on a supply run with Glenn. While still at the farm, Maggie and Glenn end up having a close encounter with a walker while picking up some supplies for Lori. Shaken by the near-death experience, she yells at Lori, blaming her for putting them in danger, even though it was Glenn who agreed to go on a supply run to the pharmacy in the first place. While many people understood why Maggie would be so rattled, her tantrum at Lori created further tensions between her family and the group. This was especially serious considering the fact that she and her family were still a danger to the other survivors, as they hadn't been fully aware of just how dangerous the undead was. Following up, she also doesn't help look for Beth in season 4. After the group loses their prison camp in the 4th season, Maggie immediately sets off on a journey to find Glenn. Even though at this point we knew that Beth was with Daryl, Maggie was unaware of her sister's whereabouts and made absolutely no effort to look for her first. Although it's clear that her love for Glenn drove her to look for him, we knew that he was more than capable of taking care of himself. And if she had instead looked for her sister, she might have been able to protect her from her sad fate. At lucky number 7, she also kept prisoners of war. Following the war against the Saviors, Maggie lost many of her people and struggled with her desire to avenge their deaths, while also still being a good person. Once her group manages to get the upper hand, she decides to take the remaining Saviors captive instead of executing them. While this may seem kind on the surface, she kept them in poor conditions and gave them practically no food or drink, and constantly threatened them with scare tactics. This made it difficult for the prisoners to trust her group after the war had ended, leading to rising tensions among the remaining Saviors. Moving on, she also plotted to kill Negan. After Rick decided to spare Negan, as well as many other Saviors. At the end of the war, Maggie is outraged by the fact that her husband's killer was being allowed to live out his days without any repercussions. She even plotted to kill him while he was defenseless in his cell, along with a few other people within her group that shared similar feelings. While it's an unpopular opinion that Maggie was right for doing this, most fans believe that this conniving nature would lead her down a dark path, and that even though her feelings were justified, all of the plotting ended up making her unpredictable and untrustworthy. At the halfway point of the list is her execution of Gregory. Maggie eventually manages to take Gregory's place as the leader of the Hilltop. However, determined to get his title back, he decides to try and kill Maggie, which obviously fails, and after she was attacked while walking outside the sanctuary's walls with her son, she decided to have Gregory executed for his treachery. There were many other ways that Maggie could have dealt with him, such as exiling him and making him fend for himself, but by executing him, she made herself look more like a dictator rather than a thoughtful leader. Coming up next is the time she abandoned the Hilltop. After the group had dealt with the Saviors, there was a time of relative peace, during which Maggie decided to leave the Hilltop and go off on her own separate way, along with her son Herschel. Since she had been the leader of Hilltop, leaving so suddenly had left her group quite vulnerable, and once Hilltop got destroyed, she had to find a new safe haven for her people, a choice that could help make up for the fact that she practically abandoned them in the first place. Heading into the top 3s, she also tries to kill Negan. Once Maggie discovered that Negan had been let out of his cell and was walking free, she became outraged and determined to get justice for her husband, leading her to make rash decisions that compromised the safety of her group, including the time she watched a walker attack Negan instead of dealing with the threat. Although she has a right to hate him, her desire to see him die affected her ability to lead. This resulted in her leading her group into a dangerous, mysterious tunnel during a mission that had disastrous consequences. The penultimate entry on this list is watching Gage die. While Maggie and Negan had made a few good decisions in the final season, they didn't really make a good call when they decided to watch Gage die in the tunnel. Even though he had abandoned their group in fear, this was because Maggie had led them down a dangerous tunnel in the first place. Due to her her part in putting the group in danger, she pretty much owed it to him to help him with the walker attack on the other side of the train cart's door. Plus, the fact that the group was able to fight off the same horde of walkers later on in the episode proved that Maggie was becoming less considerate of the lives of others. And finally, at the top of our list, there's the time she executed the Reapers. Maggie went through quite a transformation over the course of the series. This fact was made clear after she decided to brutally kill the remaining group of Reapers after her group won the battle against them. Although in her defense, she was just avenging all the people they had killed during their numerous raids, as well as all of the people she had been with when they were attacked. However, the scene showed just how cruel and cold Maggie became, not even hesitating to take multiple lives without a second thought. That's a wrap for this video. Do you agree with our list? And what are you expecting to see in the upcoming spin-off series? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.